Right now, we want to bring in CBS News senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge. Catherine, as we speak to you, it looks like the motorcade is now underway from Doral. We're seeing a number of not just law enforcement vehicles, but black SUVs, which indicate that the former president is on the way to the courthouse. Can you tell us where you are, what you've been seeing, and set the stage where the motorcade is heading to?
Well, Jim, the motorcade should take about 20 minutes with that Secret Service and law enforcement escort to reach the courthouse here in Miami. When they arrive, what they will see is several hundred Trump supporters gathered on the plaza outside the courthouse. Visibly, there's sort of a light security presence. We have the Miami police, some federal officials, but based on my experience, there's probably a lot of security which is unseen. I've been talking to some of the Trump supporters who have come here to the courthouse, and the conversation with one woman who traveled from Texas about 19 hours really struck me. I asked her why she came, and she gave me a very predictable answer that she was here to support him. But then she said, I have an open mind about the evidence. Maybe it was politically motivated, or maybe he's done something wrong. And in my mind, a wrong is a wrong. And then she remarked on the fact that there weren't as many Trump supporters here as she had anticipated. And she didn't know, Jim, what to make of that. But really what I came away with is that the nuance in some of these supporters about the president's legal jeopardy.
You know, that's so fascinating. And thinking of not Texans, but Floridians, I mean, they have a governor who is also running, who's the closest to Donald Trump and who might benefit from using all of this in his favor to get votes. But, you know, right now, we're not on the politics. We're on the legal side of all of this. And, Catherine, you had the opportunity to talk to one of his attorneys. What's in the former president's legal team's state of mind at this point?
Well, we spoke with Alina Habba, and she is Donald Trump's personal spokesperson as well as a civil attorney. So she's not directly involved in this criminal prosecution. But what she said to us, and I asked her point blank, does he understand the serious nature of the criminal charges that he's facing? And she said, well, of course he does, which seems significant to me because at least publicly on the campaign trail, he seemed to dismiss the 37 criminal counts. She also said to me the legal team was very determined to fight every one of the criminal counts, and she described this as a politically motivated, selective prosecution. And to pick on a point that Jessica made, she said specifically that this indictment from the special counsel Jack Smith, in their view, only tells one side of the story. She talked about these transcripts, the audio tape as kind of snippets that were not completely in context. Now, objectively, it will be very important to see the full transcript that is entered into evidence. This is the transcript of the conversation where the president discusses this Pentagon-Iran memo and acknowledges, according to the indictment, that he had classified material and can no longer declassify it. And then also these notes with the attorney, Evan Corcoran. What's in that indictment is shocking to say the least. But what Trump's team is arguing is that there may be more to the notes to understanding the context. Even when you put all of that to one side, you're still left with two central issues, which is the retention of this national defense information. And I just want to emphasize, we haven't seen evidence that they were compromised. But this is such highly classified information that if there is a disclosure, the anticipation of the intelligence community is what they call exceptionally grave damage. And what that means in layperson's terms is the loss of sources and methods, even the loss of human spies who work for the CIA. So you take that and then the obstruction that Jessica was just talking about. The obstruction, I think, may be in many ways the biggest legal challenge for the former president because they allege a conspiracy with this aide, Walt Nauta. And when you look at the transcript of his conversations with the FBI and the backstory and the evidence in the indictment, it does appear that he, at the very least, was not forthcoming or misled investigators. And that's called an 18 U.S.C. 1001 lying to federal agents. That is used routinely in criminal cases. It's an automatic 5 years for every single falsehood that's stated. So you could have an FBI interview. There are 3 or 4 lies in the course of that interview, you're talking about 15 or 20 years in jail. Wow.
All right, so let's shift gears if we can, Catherine, just for a second. We keep seeing pictures of the motorcade on the move. So it is just probably within a couple of minutes that he's going to arrive. Former President Trump arrives. We're looking at one right now, as a matter of fact. Just logistically speaking, what's going to happen? How's it all going to work once Mr. Trump arrives at the courthouse?
Well, based on our reporting here at CBS News and officials who are familiar with the situation, they tell us they expect the president to enter the federal courthouse behind me with his motorcade, so we're not likely to see him outside the courthouse. And once he enters, he will be effectively in the custody of U.S. Marshals. He will not be arrested, as you may have seen widely reported earlier today. Then he goes through a very standard process that all criminal defendants face. They fingerprint them. In this case, we're not anticipating a mugshot. We were told that they would upload his official portrait, and there may be DNA testing as well. So in some ways, this is an extraordinary case. We've never been here before, but many of the procedures that are in place for any criminal defendant remain intact.
We've never been here with a former president who also happens to be a candidate. And one conversation that we were having earlier with somebody who specializes on classified documents, and Catherine, I ask you because you have walked us through just the severity, how delicate these documents were. According to the indictment, they were somewhere where anybody pretty much who was in Mar-a-Lago could have accessed them. I wonder if you have any thoughts about the trust that this could break diplomatically for our allies, for people abroad, for the people who are dealing with our agencies and our government, given that this is a candidate. And I haven't heard from any of his contenders talking about whether or not that trust is broken.
It's an excellent question. One of the elements of the intelligence, according to the indictment, is what's called Five Eyes intelligence. This is intelligence that comes from our allies, the UK, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. You can think of it as sort of a consortium where we take our intelligence and we pull it together to meet our common objectives. The key element here, Lilia, that you're going to in this breach of trust is that this really isn't U.S. government intelligence to spoil, if you will. So if you burn a source, you lose a method, it may not even be sources and methods that belong to the U.S. government. They may belong to the Australians or the Canadians or the British. So that can really create a break in the trust. It's harmful for diplomacy because, frankly, it goes to this bad rap the U.S. government has, which is that it cannot be trusted with highly secret information because it will be leaked or it may be compromised in some way.
All right, Catherine Herridge with this very complex and complicated story. Thank you for keeping us up to date. We're going to ask you to just sit for a second while we go to CBS News correspondent Meg Oliver, who is actually outside the courthouse right now. And Meg, we are seeing the motorcade on the move and heading to where you are. So are supporters sort of aware of this? I'm just wondering if they know what's happening. And are you detecting any shift in the mood from what you have seen earlier?
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely feel the increased energy here in this crowd. And there have been more. There's actually been a motorcade of supporters that have been going by us, kind of a steady stream of trucks and bigger cars waving flags. If you take a look over here, Jim, I think there's probably maybe another 100 people have shown up, still peacefully protesting. A lot of chants, USA, go Trump. We've talked to a lot of these supporters of Trump. Some have traveled as far away as Nashville to be here. Some have traveled across the state. We know we're expecting about 4 chartered buses to arrive at any moment, carrying another 200 people from Orlando. And as you look around, there's still more media, for sure, outnumbering Trump supporters, but it's a friendly atmosphere. If you look over here, just behind me, there's a Trump supporter here. He's selling merchandise and waters. People are taking selfies, a lot of flags flying, and still wondering about that increased security presence, although it is evident that there are cops on foot and bike. But again, as I mentioned earlier when we talked, there's only yellow police tape up surrounding certain parts of this building, and so that has raised some concerns for that.
I wonder if those 4 buses from Orlando have arrived yet, or if the crowd is expected to grow much more in size.
Yeah, well, that's the big concern. If this crowd continues to grow and get bigger and bigger, are they prepared to handle it? And that has been something that has been talked about a lot. But as I mentioned, there is an increased presence out here. All the roads are open. If you take a look over here, the cops are coming through as more supporters are filing in. And at this point, we keep hearing from the Miami police and other security officers that they are prepared to handle a large crowd. It's just going to remain to be seen how large this crowd becomes.
All right, Meg, we'll talk to you in a bit as the motorcade approaches. We're seeing it there, 8:36. I'm only going to take a guess because I used to work in Doral. But we are going to take a short break. In the meantime, our coverage of the arraignment of former President Donald Trump continues.
Stay with us. You're streaming CBS News, always on.